My boyfriend kept disappearing whenever my brother's girlfriend was downstairs. "You're being paranoid," he told me. Then I found messages joking about what they'd done in our laundry room and how stupid we looked at dinner. I stayed silent, saved everything, and invited both families over. The first time I noticed something between them, it was so small that I convinced myself it meant nothing. I walked into the kitchen and found my boyfriend, Travis, standing beside my brother's girlfriend, Sabrina. She was leaning against the counter while he searched through the refrigerator, and they were laughing about something. They stopped as soon as they saw me. Travis closed the refrigerator and smiled. "There you are. I was wondering where you went. I told you I was folding laundry." "Right. I forgot." I asked what they were laughing about. Sabrina gave me a quick smile. "You had to be there. Two people had shared a joke. That was all." Still, the sudden silence bothered me. Sabrina had been dating my older brother, Dean, for about 4 months. She hadn't officially moved into our mother's house, but she was there almost every night. It started with a weekend bag. Soon there were toiletries in the bathroom, clothes in Dean's closet, and food she had bought for herself in the refrigerator. My mother, Colleen, liked having her around. Sabrina helped clear the table, offered to pick up groceries, and had already started calling her mom. It felt premature to me, but my mother found it sweet. Dean had gone through a painful breakup the year before. Sabrina made him happy, and I didn't want to become the suspicious younger sister who found problems where there weren't any. Travis had been my boyfriend for almost 3 years. He had his own apartment, but he stayed with us several nights a week. My mother had even given him a spare key because everyone trusted him. He knew our routines. He knew when my mother went to bed, when Dean worked late, and when I usually got home. At the time, that familiarity felt like proof that he belonged with us. After the night in the kitchen, I started noticing how quickly he and Sabrina had become comfortable around each other. She laughed harder at his jokes than anyone else did. He volunteered to help her with things Dean had already offered to handle. Sometimes they would start a conversation in front of everyone, then lower their voices once they thought nobody was listening. One afternoon, Sabrina said she needed to pick up something from a shopping center across town. Dean offered to drive her, but she told him he looked tired. Travis immediately reached for his keys. "I'm going that way anyway," he said. He wasn't. 10 minutes earlier, he had told me he planned to stay home and watch a game. They were gone for almost 2 hours. When they returned, Sabrina carried one small bag. Travis followed her inside, smiling at something she had said in the driveway. I asked why it had taken so long. "There was traffic," Travis said. The roads had been nearly empty all afternoon. Sabrina interrupted before I could question him. She handed Dean a snack she had bought for him and started complaining about the checkout line. Dean thanked her, and the moment passed. Later that night, I asked Travis whether he found her attractive. He looked offended. "She's your brother's girlfriend." "That doesn't answer me." He sighed. "She's fine. I've never thought about her that way. You spend a lot of time together. I was doing her a favor. You told me you weren't going anywhere." His expression changed. "What are you accusing me of?" "I'm asking a question. You're making something out of nothing." Then he pulled me closer and kissed my forehead. "She's basically family," he said. "You don't have to compete with every woman I talk to." I felt embarrassed for bringing it up. He had turned my discomfort into a flaw I needed to fix, and I let him. A few days later, Dean came into the living room and asked whether I had seen Sabrina. I told him I thought she was upstairs looking for a charger. Travis had also gone upstairs several minutes earlier, supposedly to use the bathroom. Dean checked his bedroom and came back alone. "She isn't there." We heard movement near the back hallway. Sabrina appeared beside the laundry room, holding a charging cable. At almost the same moment, Travis came down the stairs. Dean asked where she had been. "The laundry room." "I thought you went upstairs." "I checked your room first." Travis walked past us and said he had been using the bathroom. Neither of them looked at the other. After Sabrina returned to Dean's room, he turned to me. That was weird. I wanted to tell him about the kitchen and the shopping trip, but saying everything aloud would have made my suspicion real. "Maybe," I said. "We could be overthinking it." A few weeks later, I woke around 2 in the morning and reached across the bed. Travis wasn't there. His shoes and jacket were still in my room, so I assumed he was in the bathroom. After waiting several minutes, I went into the hallway. The bathroom door was open. I walked downstairs and heard voices coming from the kitchen. Travis and Sabrina were standing close together beside the sink. She had one hand on the counter behind him, and he was leaning toward her. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but they were whispering. When they saw me, Sabrina opened the refrigerator. Travis grabbed a glass and moved toward the faucet. "What are you doing?" I asked. "Getting water." At the same time, Sabrina took out a bottle and shrugged. I couldn't sleep. "Why were you whispering?" Travis looked annoyed. "Your mom is asleep. My mother's bedroom is upstairs on the other side of the house." He put the glass down. "We were talking. Is that forbidden now?" Sabrina walked past me without saying anything. Upstairs, Travis accused me of embarrassing him. I asked what they had been discussing at 2 in the morning. He claimed Sabrina was worried about Dean and wanted advice. Advice about what? That's between them. Then why was she talking to you? Because she trusts me. I asked to see his phone. He laughed once. Absolutely not. You've looked through mine before. That was different. How? I had a reason. I stared at him. And I don't. He grabbed his jacket and said he was going home. Before leaving, he told me I needed to decide whether I trusted him because he wouldn't stay in a relationship where he had to defend every conversation. The next afternoon, Dean came into my room and closed the door. Has Travis ever said anything about Sabrina? My stomach tightened. Why? Dean sat beside my desk. He said Sabrina had started bringing Travis into their arguments. At first, it had been small comparisons. Travis was more outgoing. Travis dressed better. Travis knew how to make women feel appreciated. Then she told Dean that Travis understood women better than he did. Dean asked why she thought so highly of my boyfriend. Sabrina claimed she was only trying to motivate him. That isn't motivation, I said. I know. Then he told me something I hadn't known. The night before I found Travis and Sabrina in the kitchen, Dean had seen Sabrina go downstairs shortly after midnight. Travis arrived at the house about 20 minutes later using his spare key. Travis hadn't been there when I went to bed. He had come over after I told him I was tired and didn't want company. He never entered my room until much later. Dean finally asked the question neither of us wanted to say aloud. Do you think they're sleeping together? I couldn't defend Travis anymore. I think we need proof before we confront them. Without proof, they would deny everything, accuse us of being insecure and delete anything that could expose them. Travis had left an old tablet at our house. He used it for streaming when he stayed over, but he hadn't touched it in months. His messaging account was still connected, and I knew the passcode because he had given it to me long before any of this started. The tablet was in the drawer beneath my television. I stared at it for several minutes before turning it on. Part of me expected to find nothing. I wanted to feel guilty for doubting him. His messages loaded. Sabrina's name was near the top. Their first conversation had started 3 days after Dean introduced her to us. At first, it looked harmless. She thanked Travis for helping carry something to Dean's car, and he replied that she owed him a drink. Within days, the tone changed. They complimented each other, complained about Dean and me, and shared things they had never said in front of us. Travis called me predictable. Sabrina said Dean was too eager to please her. Then I found the first message about meeting alone. Sabrina had written, "Your girlfriend almost caught us." Travis replied, "She never notices anything unless I point it out." My hands started shaking. There were months of conversations. They arranged meetings around Dean's shifts, my schedule, and my mother's errands. They joked about using the laundry room because the dryer covered the sound of the door. They had also met in the garage and once in Dean's bedroom while he was working late. Sabrina wrote that she had considered ending things with Dean, but staying with him made it easier to see Travis without raising suspicion. Travis told her not to rush because their arrangement was working. Then I found the conversation about our family dinners. Sabrina said she had almost laughed when Dean held her hand under the table. Travis replied, "I like watching all 4 of us together. They have no idea." She answered, "Sometimes I think they deserve it for being this blind." That exchange hurt more than the details of the affair. They hadn't only betrayed us. They had enjoyed watching us trust them. I photographed the messages, making sure the dates and names were visible. I didn't save anything explicit because their own words were enough. Then I sent everything to Dean. He called almost immediately, but I couldn't answer. I sat on the floor beside my bed, trying to breathe while my phone rang. Dean came home early. He walked into my room holding his phone, his face pale with anger. "I'm calling both of them." "No." "Why not?" "They'll lie until they know what we have." "We have enough." "I know." My mother's birthday dinner was that weekend. It had been planned for weeks. Sabrina's parents, Paula and Grant, were attending because both families had already spent time together several times. Travis was expected to be there too. I told Dean I wanted them both at the table. You want to expose them at Mom's birthday? I want them to explain it when they can't control who hears the truth. That's going to ruin the dinner. They used this house as part of the affair. I'm done protecting them from embarrassment. Dean wanted to confront them immediately, but he understood that private conversations would give them a chance to manipulate everyone separately. Eventually, he agreed. For 3 days, we behaved as though we knew nothing. Travis came over the following evening and kissed me at the door. He asked why I had been distant, then suggested we take a weekend trip together. At dinner, Sabrina complained that Dean hadn't been giving her enough attention. Travis defended her, saying relationships failed when people stopped making an effort. Dean tightened his grip around his fork. I kept my eyes on my plate. On the morning of my mother's birthday, Travis messaged me saying he loved me. A few minutes later, the tablet showed him messaging Sabrina. He warned her that I had been acting strange and asked whether Dean had noticed anything. Sabrina told him not to worry because we were both too attached to leave, even if we discovered the truth. Travis replied, "You're probably right." I saved that conversation too. By late afternoon, my mother was moving around the kitchen, checking the food and asking whether everything looked presentable. She was excited, and for the first time I questioned whether I had chosen the wrong moment. My mother hadn't betrayed anyone, yet her birthday was about to become part of the confrontation. I considered changing the plan, but I knew what would happen if I spoke to Travis alone. He would minimize the affair. Sabrina would give Dean a different version. By the time our families heard about it, the truth would be buried beneath competing excuses. Paula and Grant arrived first with flowers and wine. Paula hugged Sabrina and said she looked happy. I am, Sabrina replied. Travis arrived 20 minutes later. He kissed my cheek, handed my mother a card and sat beside me as if nothing had changed. Dinner was painfully normal. My mother talked about a show she had started watching. Grant told a story about getting stuck behind a slow driver. Paula asked whether Dean and Sabrina had discussed traveling together that summer. Sabrina rested her hand on Dean's arm. We've talked about it. Under the table, Travis placed his palm on my knee. He leaned closer. Are we okay? I looked at him. Not yet. After dessert, my mother started collecting plates. Dean stood and told her to leave everything because he wanted to show us something. He connected his laptop to the television. The first screenshot appeared. It was the message in which Sabrina warned Travis that I had nearly caught them. Nobody spoke. Sabrina understood first. Her smile disappeared, and she looked toward Travis. He avoided her eyes. Dean moved to the next screenshot, then another. Paula covered her mouth. My mother stared at the television, struggling to understand why those names were appearing together. Travis pushed his chair back. What the hell is this? Your messages, I said. You went through my private account? Sabrina turned on Dean. You had no right to do this. Dean let out a short laugh. You were sleeping with my sister's boyfriend in my bedroom, and you want to talk about privacy? Grant asked whether the messages were real. Sabrina didn't answer. Travis reached for my arm. Mallory, come outside. We need to talk. I pulled away. You already said plenty when you thought I'd never see it. My mother asked what had happened. Her voice was quiet, which made the room feel even worse. I told her Travis and Sabrina had been having an affair for months. They had met in the laundry room, the garage, and Dean's bedroom. They planned everything around our schedules and laughed about deceiving us. My mother sat down slowly. Not in this house. Neither of them denied it. Sabrina finally said, it wasn't supposed to happen like this. Dean stared at her. How was it supposed to happen? I was confused. For 4 months. I didn't know what I wanted. You knew enough to use me as an excuse to stay here. That's not fair. Dean pointed toward the screen. You wrote it. Sabrina turned toward me. Travis told me you two were basically over. I looked at him. He shook his head. That's not what I said. Her eyes widened. Are you serious? You knew I was with Mallory. You told me you were only staying because you felt guilty. Travis stood. You said the same thing about Dean. They began blaming each other so quickly that nobody needed more proof. Travis said Sabrina pursued him. Sabrina said he contacted her first. He accused her of using Dean for access, while she said he enjoyed the secrecy more than she did. Every private promise between them disappeared the moment consequences entered the room. Then Travis turned to me. I know how this looks. How it looks. You've been distant for months. So you slept with my brother's girlfriend? I made a mistake. A mistake doesn't require checking 3 people's schedules. He lowered his voice. Can we please talk somewhere else? No. This doesn't need to happen in front of everyone. You had no problem doing it in everyone's house. His apology disappeared. You're humiliating me on purpose. I looked at the television. You wrote that you enjoyed watching us sit together because we had no idea. Don't pretend humiliation only became cruel when it happened to you. Paula began crying. She asked Sabrina how she could treat Dean that way after his family welcomed her. Sabrina said everyone was acting as if she had committed some unforgivable crime. Grant told her to stop. She stared at him. You're taking their side? I'm looking at your own words. My mother stood. I want both of you out. Travis stepped toward her. Colleen, I'm sorry. Don't. He stopped. I trusted you in my home, she said. I gave you a key. Travis placed the spare key on the table. Sabrina crossed her arms. Most of my things are here. Where am I supposed to go? Dean looked at her. With your parents. I'm not leaving without my belongings. I'll pack everything and leave it on the porch tomorrow. She accused him of trying to control her property. You moved yourself into this house without asking, he said. You can move yourself out. Grant told Sabrina to get her coat. Before leaving, she looked at Travis as if she expected him to follow her. He didn't. Once her family was gone, Travis asked me to come outside. In the driveway, he started crying. He said he loved me and claimed the affair had become something he didn't know how to stop. He insisted he had planned to end it after my mother's birthday. I showed him the screenshot from that morning. His face fell. We can fix this, he said. You told her I was too attached to leave. I was trying to calm her down. You were counting on me having no self-respect. That isn't true. You turned my home into a joke. He said exposing him in front of both families had been cruel. I told him I had learned cruelty from the messages he wrote while sitting at our table and pretending to love me. Then I asked him to leave. He waited beside his car as though I might change my mind. When I went back inside, he finally drove away. My mother was crying in the kitchen. She understood why Dean and I had wanted witnesses, but wished we had chosen another day. She hadn't done anything wrong, and her birthday would always be tied to what happened. Dean and I apologized. The next morning, he packed Sabrina's belongings. Clothes, shoes, cosmetics, and framed photographs filled several boxes. Paula and Grant collected them while Sabrina remained in their car. A few hours later, Sabrina messaged Dean, accusing him of humiliating her and turning her parents against her. When he didn't respond, she contacted me. You ruined my relationship and embarrassed my family. I replied, you stayed with my brother because it gave you access to my boyfriend. Embarrassment is the mildest consequence you could have expected. Then I blocked her. Travis continued contacting me from different numbers. His explanations changed whenever one failed. Sometimes he said the affair meant nothing. Other times, he claimed he had feelings for Sabrina but loved me more. Eventually, he blamed me for refusing to understand why he cheated. I blocked every number. About 2 weeks after the dinner, Travis and Sabrina started seeing each other openly. It lasted less than a month. Neither trusted the other. Sabrina became suspicious whenever Travis went out alone. Travis accused her of messaging other men. Their relationship ended after a public argument, and Sabrina later tried contacting Dean again. She said losing him had made her realize how well he had treated her. He never replied. A few months later, Dean and I rented a small apartment together. Living with my brother as an adult wasn't part of either of our plans, but we needed space from the house. The apartment is quiet. We don't wonder why someone has disappeared or why a door has been closed for too long. My relationship with my mother took more time to repair. She agreed that Travis and Sabrina deserved to be exposed, but believed choosing her birthday had made innocent people part of our revenge. She was right about that. I wanted witnesses because I was afraid they would manipulate the story. I also wanted them trapped by the truth after months of treating us like fools. I don't regret showing everyone the evidence. I regret that my mother's birthday became collateral damage. There was no real victory. Dean and I lost people we trusted, and my mother no longer saw her home the same way. What we gained was the truth before Travis and Sabrina could rewrite it as confusion, loneliness, or a single mistake. They had relied on secrecy because secrecy protected them. Once everyone saw their messages, they had to live with the choices they had made. Was I wrong for exposing them during my mother's birthday dinner, or did they give up the right to a private confrontation when they turned our family home into part of their affair?